Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So as you guys know from my last video, I got my hands on quite a few of the Fenty beauty products by Rihanna, and if you haven't seen that tutorial, then make sure you go and check it out now. I will link it for you. I did a tutorial with all the products that I got and also gave you my thoughts on, well, my first thoughts on each of the products. In that video, I said that I would do an in-depth review and demo for the Fenty Beauty Foundation, because that is the one product that I was the most excited about, because you know me, I'm always on the hunt for the perfect foundation, especially the perfect foundation shade, which is quite hard to come by when you are of a warmer skin tone. Now, if you want to know a little bit more on how to match your foundation shade to your skin tone and your undertone and all of that kind of thing, and finding those key things out to getting the perfect foundation, so I'll link that video for you now so you can get a better understanding on how to find your perfect foundation shade. First things first, I just want to talk about price, packaging and how much product you get. So I believe this foundation is around the £26 mark. I think it's about £26 on Harvey Nichols, which is where it is exclusive to. You can only purchase this makeup line from Harvey Nichols, whether it's in store or online, you can get it right there. But yeah, I think it's around the £26 mark, which I think is quite affordable for something that's quite high end, but it's not like too luxury, if you know what I mean. So it's something that like most people could buy, or if you saved up your money, it won't take you that long to save up to get a foundation of £26, in my opinion. So for £26, you're getting 32 mils of product. I know it doesn't seem like a lot, but it's 2 mils more than most of your foundations around this price. So this is cheaper than your Giorgio Armani Luminous Silk foundation. It's around the same kind of price point as MAC, I would say. But those are just a few examples to put it into comparison in terms of price and product. So if you do, again, compare it to those kind of brands, you only get 30 mils of products in those foundations. So for £26, you're getting 32 mils, which I think is fantastic. And I know it doesn't seem like a lot, it's only 2 mils more, but every little helps, and 2 mils more makes all the difference. It's just gonna last you that little bit longer. And yeah, why not be super pleased and excited about that? I think that is fantastic that she's thrown in an extra 2 mils, and the price point just isn't that bad. We were never expecting sort of drugstore prices with Rihanna's beauty line, and I think she's priced, especially the foundation, very fairly. In terms of the packaging itself, I absolutely love the packaging. It's this beautiful glass frosted bottle. It just looks and feels very high-end, very expensive, very luxury, but again, it's not at that extreme luxury price point. So yeah, it's given you that nice feel without it being that expensive. It's just a really good solid bottle. It's really nice and slim and thin. It's also just really simple with Fenty Beauty across the front. It's very elegant. I just want to talk about the actual product itself before I talk about shade, because that's just another drama in itself. So on the website, this foundation claims to be a soft matte long wear foundation with buildable medium to full coverage in a boundary breaking range of 40 goddamn shades. Like I said, we'll get onto shades in a bit, but in terms of the finish of this foundation, where it claims to be a soft matte finish, I believe that is very accurate. It's not really matte. I've seen some reviews where people are putting this foundation on and they're like, oh my god, it's so matte. No, it's not that matte. It's really not that matte, because I have the Marc Jacobs full coverage foundation, which is a matte foundation, and I'm gonna compare it to that in terms of how matte it is. Honestly, the Marc Jacobs full coverage foundation is the most matte finish foundation I've ever seen, ever tried. I have a full review on it, so I'll link it for you now if you want to check it out. This foundation is an oil-free foundation, so it's just going to help keep your oils at bay. It is going to give you a slightly matte finish, but it's not like really matte where it looks a little bit dry. It's almost like a velvet matte finish, if that makes sense. So it's in between being like your skin, but as if like your natural skin, but your natural skin's had powder on it. So you've just powdered your skin to make it look a little bit more matte, take away some shine. That's what this looks like. And me having like an oily T-zone, I personally really like that. It's not too offensive. And when you use it with the Fenty Beauty primer, it works beautifully. The primer is also a soft matte primer, but it's feels like a really smooth and creamy and very lightweight moisturizer, and it just helps, again, prep your skin for the foundation, keep your oils at bay. It doesn't like completely mattify your skin, if that makes sense. I just want you to understand you are not going to look like a dry cake face using these products. However, if you have got dry skin, I would recommend going in with a more moisturizing primer, something like that, to kind of balance out that soft matte finish, but that is only if you have dry skin. If you've got normal to oily skin, then you can totally get away with using the soft matte primer and the foundation together. Now, as I mentioned before, this foundation claims to be a buildable medium to full coverage foundation, and I couldn't agree with that more. Again, I had some people saying, no, it's a full coverage foundation. It's not. It's a medium coverage foundation to start off with. It gives you really excellent coverage with your first sort of layer, but as you build it up, I generally like to only go in with 2 layers with this foundation. I find that that's enough coverage for me. That gives me a skin-like look as well as a skin-like feeling. It's not too heavy on the skin. It's really nice and lightweight. The foundation itself is actually quite thin and runny, so it's really easy to work with, but it's just very pigmented. But again, comparing it to the Marc Jacobs foundation, which is matte and super full coverage, it's not to that kind of intensity, if that makes sense. This is definitely a foundation that you could sheer down if you wanted to, and wear it quite light. You can mix it in with your moisturizer and still get a nice amount of coverage if you wanted something like really like daytimey, or you could just wear it as a medium coverage foundation with 1 layer, and again, it's still going to look very beautiful. Or like me, when I like to go a bit more full coverage, just going with 2 layers, and I feel like that is enough, and it works really beautifully. I get good coverage and it doesn't look heavy or cakey. Now, I've tried this foundation a few times now and I've worn it in different ways, and one of the most important things for me when I'm looking for a foundation or testing it out is to see how long it wears on your skin and if it wears really well. Now, this foundation does claim to last all day and wear for a long time, and again, I have to agree with that. It does genuinely last all day. Now, I do set my makeup with powder and all of that, but where I had one of the days where I didn't set it with powder, I just wanted to test it out. I found that I did get a little bit of oiliness coming through on my nose, but I have very oily skin on my nose, so I'm gonna blame it on the nose. But yeah, no, I did find it got a little bit oily, but it wasn't like really like, oh my god, someone get me powder right now, get me blotting paper, or I need to take this stuff off. And even with that oiliness coming through, it didn't separate or anything, so the makeup still held on my face really well. So in terms of it being a long wearing foundation, it definitely is. It is one that if you put on in the morning, you set it with some powder, you went to work and came back, it's gonna be on. I really like the look of this foundation. I really like the feel of this foundation. I really like how this foundation wears. And I promise you, I'm not just jumping on this hype saying, yes, 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 I love it, I love it, I love it, because it's Rihanna's or whatever. This is my genuine opinion, and I would tell you where I feel like, maybe not in some areas, but I feel like this is a really like well worked on foundation. Like a lot of hard work and time and thought has gone into this foundation, and a lot has been considered in terms of wearability, coverage, shades, all of that, for it to be this good of a foundation. And I genuinely believe that it really is that good. Now, onto shade. I originally picked up the Fenty Beauty foundation in the shade 310, which is like a tan foundation with a warm undertone. But the more I looked into it and I spoke to more people, I realized maybe shade 300 could also match me. Now, this foundation, when you put it on, it's the shade that it comes out as. Then as it sets and it dries, it sets and dries just a little bit darker. Some might argue with me and say, well, that is oxidizing, but I feel like it doesn't oxidize, it just sets from being something that's wet to something that is now matte and dry. I just think it sets, and that's where the color just slightly changes. But I wouldn't say it's a dramatic change and you're like 50 shades darker or something like that. Like, for example, to compare the Urban Decay All Nighter foundation. I find that the best way to apply this foundation is with a brush, and I really like to stipple this foundation on. That way I get the best coverage out of it. When I did use it with a sponge, I felt like I had to build it up way more, and I was using a lot more product than I needed to. I demoed the shade 300 on one side of my face, and I really like this shade. So shade 300 is your tan skin tone with a neutral undertone. So if you've watched my undertone foundation video, you would know that I believe I have a neutral undertone. I didn't even know she had like a neutral undertone foundation on the day I went to pick this up. It was 7:30 in the morning and I was at the Fenty beauty event, and I was like, I just need to get my hands on a foundation and get out of here because it was absolutely packed and busy and blah, blah, blah. So yeah, as I said, after I looked into it, I realized, oh my God, she's gone in and she's found neutral undertones, and she's delivered, Riri's delivered. I find that shade 300 is the most accurate to my skin tone and my undertone. I just feel like it is absolutely spot on to a T. I've never had a match as good as this in my entire life. Like, it beats every other foundation in terms of matching. It's like holy grail, number one. Now, if I ever need to look for another foundation, I will compare all shades to this foundation because it is spot on. I did compare it to the shade 310, which was on the other half of my face, which has a warmer undertone, and this I also think matches me because generally where I have never been able to find neutral undertone foundations, I've always gone for something warmer. So for me, this is what I'm generally used to. I'm used to going a little bit warmer, so I was like, yeah, this matches because it's the right skin tone, the undertone's slightly warmer, that's what I'm used to. So finally being able to find something with a neutral undertone is like groundbreaking, and I've never experienced this in my life before. If you are of my skin tone, just think about what undertone you are. Like, just really look closely at what undertone you are, and yeah, take it from there. If you are going in between two shades, if you're not sure, it does say on the website, and I would agree with this as well, go for the shade lighter because it does set a little bit darker. However, shade 310, as you've seen in pictures and in my tutorial, it doesn't look bad. Like, once I've highlighted, once I've done the rest of my makeup, it actually doesn't look bad at all. It doesn't look dramatically darker, anything like that, which is why I felt like actually this foundation does really work for me. So it's not one that I'm gonna say that I'm never gonna use again. They both actually work for me, but the one that is most accurate, if I had to choose, is shade 300. So if I've confused anyone or whatever, I'm so sorry, but yeah, shade 300 for me, but 310 is not bad at all. But yeah, I would definitely recommend trying the foundation out yourself, seeing what it sets like on your skin. We're all different, we're all of different undertones, we all got different skin tones, so definitely test it out and try it yourself. This foundation does come in 40 shades, like I mentioned before, which is amazing. So there's definitely going to be a shade for everyone, which is what I am so excited and passionate about. And I'm just totally backing Riri with this one because she's gone in, she's done it properly, and she's putting every other brand to shame because she's done 40 shades with her first ever like beauty launch. And some of these brands have been going for years and years and years and years, and they still have 12 shades in their range, skipping out the medium skin tones. Yeah, it really aggravates me because I'm like, okay, so you've got white shades and you've got black shades, and then you put like a few in the middle, but they're not right. And even when you do the black shades, they're not even right. You're like just doing the black shades just to say you've done them, if that makes sense. So it's very frustrating. I feel so passionately and strongly about this. So yeah, so guys, I really hope you enjoyed my review, my demo. I hope you learned something today. I hope you've got a little bit more clarity on this foundation, whether you should purchase it or not. Do give this video a big thumbs up if you did enjoy it. Let me know if you want any other reviews for any other foundations or just in general, any other videos. Let me know, comment down below, and also don't forget to subscribe for more videos. Check me out on Instagram, Snapchat, and Twitter. Everything will be down below. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Mwah. Bye.